Hearing today the trial of Sam Salmond. The particulars of the offence are that is Sam summoned here? Okay. Could you stand, please, to take the oath, or to the arraignment? The case is that on the 26th of September of 2020, you, Sam Salmond, did appropriate property belonging to others with the intention of permanently depriving the other persons of that property. There are two relevant issues, which for the purposes of today will be heard together. The relevant property here is the fresh fruit and vegetables from a Mr. Mark Spencer, and a selection of university textbooks from Stony Water Bookshop. I should swear you in, and then I shall take your plea. So could you repeat after me, please? I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare, and affirm, that the evidence I shall give, shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. How do you plead to the stated offence?
Not guilty.
Thank you. You can take your seat.
I'm passing them to me on.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Your Honour and members of the jury, may I please present the prosecution's case?
Yes.
Before I present the prosecution's case, I'd just like to introduce my learned friend who's acting on behalf of the defendant, Miss T.K. Garmer. Your Honour, members of the jury, I, Katie Javon, am acting on behalf of the prosecution here today. I would like to take this opportunity to explain to you what the prosecution claims and what this case will cover. The defendant, Miss Salmond, on the 26th September 2020, was newly arrived as a student at the University of Bradford. After unpacking her belongings and chatting with her fellow students, was excited and explored her nearby surroundings and ventured into Bradford city centre. Whilst about on her travels, she did come across the local market, local indoor market, and although it was strange to her, she did recognise certain fruits and vegetable produce that were sold on the market in her own town. While she was at the market stall, the defendant, Miss Salmon, did proceed to appropriate items of fruit and veg from the store and did leave without paying. After that, the defendant then went to Stony Water Bookshop and was probably in her excitement again and nerves starting her course at the university, realised that there were certain books that she needed to purchase, and whilst she was in the store looking at the books, the prices were swapped on the textbooks, which the defendant was confronted with at the till when she proceeded to purchase those books. The prosecution will call forward witnesses from both the market stall and from Stony Water Bookshop to testify that the defendant did appropriate items belonging to them, and her intention at the time was to permanently deprive them of those items. The defendant will claim that her intention for the fruit and veg was an innocent mistake and that where she's from, it's a custom that they are allowed to go back and pay at a later date. And in relation to the books and the prices being swapped, she has admitted to fidgeting with the price tags. But obviously today it's for the prosecution to prove to the judge and to the jury that beyond reasonable doubt that Miss Salmon's intentions on that day was to permanently deprive both witnesses of the items that have been taken, i.e. the fruit and veg from the market stall and the books from the bookstore, which she didn't end up leaving store with, as she had been confronted at the till. But in the case of R.V. Morris, and it was determined that the theft occurs at the moment that there has been any taking of the books from the shelves and the tampering of the price tickets, and that's why we're hearing that as an offence also here today. I'd like to call my first
Thank you very much.
witness.
Okay, your first witness, Mark Spencer.
Yeah.
Okay, the court calls Mark Spencer to the stand. Thank you. If you could remain standing. Just swear you in. Could you repeat these words after me? I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare
and affirm
and affirm
that the evidence that I shall give
that the evidence that I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. And for the purpose of the court, could you please confirm your address?
Mark Spencer, 26 Stony Walk Road.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Spencer.
Hiya.
Thank you for being here today. I'd just like to ask you a couple of questions on behalf of the prosecution.
Sure.
Okay. Firstly, can you please just repeat to the courts what your occupation is?
So I am a shopkeeper at a greengrocer. I own a market stall.
And can you please confirm where your market stall is located?
Yes,
in Bradford.
Yes, it's in Bradford, yes.
Whereabouts in Bradford?
It's in the Leeds Road area of Bradford.
And is that an indoor or an outdoor?
It's an outdoor store, yes, it's an outdoor store.
I'd just like to make a comment, if it's okay, Judge. In you evidencing Chief, there's a discrepancy. It says it's an indoor market. And not
It's
an
an indoor
outdoor.
/ outdoor market, you know.
Okay,
It's the ones
thank
where you
you. I
get them
just-
outdoor fruits and vegetables as well.
All right, thank you. I
But-
just wanted
yeah.
to clarify that point, sorry. Okay. And can you confirm if that you was working on the 26th September
I was, yes.
2020?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and although it was last year that the incident occurred, can you confirm in your own words what you remember about that day when you was working?
Well, yeah, as a shopkeeper, you know, you'd assume that it's a very, especially on a weekend, it is quite busy, whichever shop you go to. So at the time, I was busy unpacking the deliveries. You know, we were in the midst of a pandemic, so we were busy supplying the deliveries and packing the deliveries for those who are in need, who can't actually come out to the stalls. So what we did was, I was at that moment in time, I was just unpacking those deliveries, and as far as I'm aware, this lady came in. She looked like a, you know, honest young wee lass. You know, she was just browsing around, so I thought nothing much of it. But then it was brought to my attention that she'd actually browsed around and also taken some items of value. For a shopkeeper, it's a very disheartening thing. You know, any little item is worth great value to a shopkeeper. You know, even though it may have been £15 in value, but to a shopkeeper, that's quite a lot. You know, that goes towards keeping up the business expenses and stuff like that. So, you know, once I found out, you know, she goes that, or something like, I'll return tomorrow with some money or something like that. So I thought, I don't know what she's on about. Who's she talking to? And then it was brought to my attention by a member of the public that, you know, she's actually gone and taken some items. And the policy is that we report all thefts to security. So that's what I did in accordance with the policy, reported it to the security and left the matter in the hands of the police.
So you can confirm then it was a member of the public then that made you aware of the items that
I'm
were
going to
taken?
stop you there for a second because you might want to object to that. Can you think why? I'm breaking off because it's hearsay, isn't it?
Hearsay, yeah. So he didn't.
So you might say, Your Honour, I don't want to address you. You might simply say, I'd ask that
Yeah.
piece of evidence be withdrawn or it be...
Yeah.
I asked for her statement to be withdrawn, Your Honour.
No, just say you're concerned about. So would you please try not to adduce evidence which is hearsay? I think that's how I'd probably
yeah.
deal with it.
Okay, Your Honour.
No, it's all right. I'm
we'll
doing this as a not as a judge,
Yep.
but as
Oh,
just to give you a little bit of guidance.
all right. So you can confirm then that you didn't actually see the defendant taking the...
No, like I said, it was
produce
brought to my
from the store.
attention, yes. It was brought to my attention.
It was brought to your attention. And can you confirm that was a member of the public
Of
that
course,
brought that information to your attention?
Yeah.
In those kinds of incidences where matters like that have been brought to your attention, what is then the procedure for you to identify if anything has been taken? Because I'm presuming at the time of the incident you didn't actually physically see, and it is hearsay that the defendant took those items. So can you confirm how you know that it was the defendant then that took those items from the stall?
So, like I said, it is with all trading policies in the area that if there was a report of a theft, we would report it to the security team, who would then go on to look at the CCTV. So, based on this, this report that came in from this member of public, I followed the policy and I reported it to the security team, who went on and checked the CCTV cameras.
And can you confirm then that the CCTV cameras clearly showed the defendant on camera?
Yes.
Yeah. And has anyone from the security team actually been shown a picture or done a check to confirm that the defendant was the person on camera?
Honestly, like I said, you know, I left it into the matters of the security team. You know, I was too busy trading on that day. Every minute counts as a trader, as a shopkeeper. So I just left it to the security team and left them to deal with it. The matter is in the hands of the police, and here we are.
You mentioned that the defendant mouthed to you she would be back later to pay for the items. Can you confirm how close she was or how far away she was? Because I'm presuming the market would have been very busy at that time.
Yeah, so those who are familiar with the market will know there's quite a lot of hustle and bustle, there's quite a lot of noise. So, you know, briefly I had a quick glance over my shoulder because I was in a bit of a rush, you know, I was trying to sort out the deliveries at the same time. So you could say it was quite a fair amount away, but, you know, you could tell that she was directing her conversation towards me.
And you mentioned that after she mouthed to you that she would return back tomorrow, that
Yes.
you was kind of confused. Can you confirm to the court why you was confused again?
Because, you know, who was she talking to? Why is she talking to me about coming back tomorrow? Tomorrow's Sunday. Sunday is normally a day off. The stores are closed on Sunday. So I was like, oh, okay, hang on, what's going on here?
So in your opinion, as the would you say then that if someone had said that they would be back tomorrow, what is your policy around that? If someone was to come to your store and say, we'll come back tomorrow, would you have given them a nod or said, yeah, that's fine? Or would you have expected payment there and then?
I'm presuming they would have been aware of the store timing, so if it was a Sunday and Sunday is closed, then, you know, I would expect a bit of clarification as to why they're coming back tomorrow. Maybe if it's for something else, but to be honest with you, like I said, it was quite busy, so my head wasn't really fully focused on what she was trying to say. It was rather getting these deliveries in and out, because we are in the midst of a pandemic, like I said.
So you can confirm that you didn't agree then with the defendant that it was okay for to return tomorrow, and that you didn't give any form of interaction or communication or a nod that could have been interpreted by the defendant that it was okay to return tomorrow. Okay. And just for the matters of the court, can you just confirm what items was taken?
Well, it was quite a while ago, but off the top of my head, it was some strawberries, potatoes, parsley, apricots, totaling around the value of £15.
Okay. Thank you. And I've got no further questions, Your Honour. Have you got any questions that you may like to direct?
Nothing.
Your Honour, I would like to cross-examine the complaint.
Yes?
Hello, Mr. Mark.
Hello.
So, firstly, you said that the store is indoor and outdoor. So you must have had scenarios in your store where people would taste produce or produce would fall on the ground outside. Can you tell me of any scenarios like that, or if you've experienced scenarios like that?
I mean, if they was to fall on the floor, I'm sure the customer would usually just pick it up and make it aware that it's fell on the floor, so we could replace that.
Okay. And in scenarios where customers would taste produce or check out the quality of it, have you had such scenarios?
Check out the quality, yes, but tasting it, no.
Okay, thank you. You said it was a pandemic, so it is understandable that Sam would want to keep a bit of distance or protect herself. Would you say so?
Yes.
Is that something that is done usually in your store? Do you have?
Yes, we have the correct measures in place: social distancing, the masks, and the sanitizing, and all that.
Okay, thank you. How would you explain her in a busy store, as you said, and with you as busy as you were, catching your attention for that second where she was leaving?
Please repeat the question.
How would you explain in a busy store during a busy period for you, Sam catching your attention to tell you that she was leaving?
I presume like she must have raised her voice to the extent where I was able to turn my attention towards her.
Okay, thank you. And what exactly did you hear her say?
Something like, I'll bring the money tomorrow, I'll return the money tomorrow, something along those words, yes.
Okay. Does your shop run a tab or credit scheme for any of its customers in any situation?
No.
Okay, thank you. Is it something you've heard of or your shop has ever considered?
No.
Were you as administrative staff working in the shop all by yourself?
No, there's obviously other employees at the shop as well, but because we were very busy getting this delivery out, it was all hands on deck. So whoever was available at the time, so myself included.
So every single employee in your shop was busy
Yes.
at that specific moment. All right. Did you make any effort to stop her or to try to understand what she was saying?
Briefly, but not to the extent where I thought deeper of it.
Okay, thank you. So to clarify, you did hear the young lady say she was bringing the money back the next
Yes.
day. All right. And you made no effort to stop her or inform her of company policy, even though you'd never seen her before?
No.
Okay, thank you. No further
that
questions,
no?
Your Honor.
Is the answer that question?
Yes, Your Honour.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You want to re-examine?
I've just one question to re-examine on, if that's okay, Your Honour. I'd just like to go over the scenario that was posed here. So you're saying that no one's ever attempted to taste any fruit produce on your store?
Well, I mean, in the midst of a pandemic, I'm sure people would be very hesitant to actually taste something in the store.
And if someone had attempted to pick up an apple, take a bite from it and taste it, what would the policy be for that?
Then the matter would be dealt with in accordance to store policy, which would be, as they have now taken a bite of an apple, we would expect them to pay for the apple as well.
Okay, thank you. I've no further questions, Your Honour.
So in relation to the theft of the vegetables, that's the close of the prosecution case.
In the case of the prosecution,
In relation to the vegetables,
in relation to the fruit and vegetables, the prosecution
that's your
rests
case.
its
Thank you.
case.
Right.
Thank you.
So we now move to the bookstore.
Your Honour, I would now like to move to the second
Thank you.
indictment and the theft of the books from Stony Water Bookshop.
Thank you.
And I would like to call my first the witness regarding that matter, Mr. Just bring up his name. Mr. Redeem and Wheat, please. I do apologise if I've pronounced the name wrong.
No, it was right, that.
Remain standing, please, Mr. Unweed. Yes, could you please confirm your name
Reading of the week.
and your address, please?
27 Parsons Lane, Bradford.
Thank you.
Ilford, Bradford.
And just repeat the words after me to swear you in. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm
that the evidence I shall give
that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. You may sit.
Mr. Anwick, can you confirm that you're the manager of Stony Water Bookshop?
I am the manager of the bookshop.
And can you confirm that you was working on the 26th of September 2020?
Yes, my diary, which I keep very carefully, Your Honour, says I was working on that particular date. I'm sure it must be true. It couldn't possibly be wrong. So yes, I can confirm that.
And can you confirm, were there any other employees working in the store with you on that day?
Yeah, there were 7. There was Annette. She's very new to us. She was working. She was doing some stocking. There was Jean-Paul. He's from France, but nice chap nevertheless. He was working behind the tills, training. There was Peter. He's just come back down from Scotland. Actually, he's a nice chap, and he was working as well. Sorry.
You keep your witness to the relevant evidence.
Okay.
Sorry, Your Honour. I was asked whether other people were working.
Yeah.
All
want to
right,
give a
may
fuller
I
picture as
stop you there?
possible.
I just wanted to confirm if he was working alone in the bookshop or
Never
there
worked.
was
It's a
staff
big bookshop.
present.
It's been. It's huge. It's on 4 floors.
Your Honour,
That's a
relevance?
Yeah.
That's a very impressive bookshop.
It is.
You've just mentioned then that it's over 4 floors.
Mm.
Can you confirm some examples of the books that you may have in store?
Everything. We sell everything. Gardening books, history books, novels, erotica. Seems to be increasingly popular. We sell textbooks for students. Everything. You name it, we flog it. If it's to be read. And not e-books either, just paper.
And can you confirm, were there any sales in store
I don't
on
do
that
sales.
day?
I don't do sales. Never.
You don't do sales now, so you can confirm then the books and specifically textbooks don't ever go into stall, into sale.
No, never. I don't do sales.
Okay.
Sell top quality produce and you pay that price.
And
If the publishers want to discount, which they often do, then that's absolutely fine. I have no problem with doing a discount then, because the profit margin for me is the same, and I can sell more books, so everybody's happy. But no, I don't do sales.
so you can confirm then that neither you nor any member of your staff will have gone round and put a sales sticker then on the books that was presented at the till
No.
by the defendant? No. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to double clarify, Your Honour, that it definitely wasn't anyone in the store that had priced the books incorrectly. Can you then confirm then why the defendant was stopped at the till with the textbooks that she had in her hand?
Well, she presented them at the till to purchase them.
She presented them, but can you confirm why at the time of purchase, though, she was stopped?
Well, yeah, she handed to my colleague, I can't remember who it was. I think it may have been John. I think she handed to John a book that said £25 on it. I think it was that. And it wasn't, it was £35. So when he scanned it, it came up £35, but the label said 25, and she said, oh, it's £25, not 35. And we said, well, no, it's that's what John said. John said, no, it's £35. So then I overhear this. John knows it. John's been working with me for years. He's aware of every scam in the book, particularly in September. All the students turn up, particularly those from, you know, foreign places. They think they can get away with it. They don't realise how high-tech we are here. And we know straight away what the book is. We know we've got 4 of them left, and it's £35. So we knew this was a scam. We spot them a mile off. Every single year we get them. Sorry, what was your question?
Sorry, Your Honour. I'd just like to object to some of the points that the witness has made, and again, it's hearsay. He's associated one person with like the likes of everyone, and it's not the case. So I just like
saving some money. We did.
Sir, that's a matter of a personal opinion.
Oh, okay.
And
anyway, she was trying to get away with paying less.
Okay.
That's not a personal opinion. That's fact, isn't it? I mean,
that,
I'm not
that,
a lawyer, but
that,
I'd say
that
it's
is fact, yeah. But
thank you.
But to associate one person the same as another is not. I just wanted to raise that matter, Judge. Sorry.
Well,
PC.
Ms. Framreef is your witness. So you must deal with him as you see fit.
Okay, Your Honour.
Thank you.
And just going back to the textbooks, can you confirm what the value of the textbooks should have been?
£117.96. She'd for all this she'd saved herself £22.99. She told me she only had 120 quid on her. Therefore,
Okay.
Anyway, she admitted it. So I mean, it's not. I just don't see the point of me being here, really. To be honest, I mean, it needs a help, of course, Your Honour, but she's admitted taking the books.
Can you confirm though what your store policy is though now that this matter's arisen?
Prosecute.
Okay.
I can't afford to be having books taken away. Not drag myself up from the gutters of Halifax.
We
to
don't
find
need
people
this
stealing
kind of extraneous
Okay.
comment. Just stick
All
to
right.
the evidence, please.
Just
you
stick.
control your witness.
I'm sorry, Your Honour. Sir, can you just keep your answers directed to the question?
Sorry. Sorry, Your
No,
Honour.
So when stopped, then you can confirm that the defendant did admit then to amending the stickers.
Yeah, she owned up straight away.
She owned up straight away. Okay, thank you for confirming that. I have no further questions, Your Honour.
Thank you. I mean, we reported it to the police because that's what we do. You know, I'm not insisting that she be prosecuted. She did what we do.
Judge, I'd like you to scratch the further comments that have been made by my...
it's all very well. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Garner, can I mention, it is an odd way that these proceedings have been brought. So you can cross-examine the defendant, not only in relation to the books, but also the vegetables.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You haven't done that yet, but you can do,
Thank you, Your Honor.
if you want to.
Yes. May I cross-examine the witness?
You're calling the defendant.
I'd like to cross-examine the witness.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Vidam.
Hello.
Could you tell me what happened on Saturday, the 26th of September 2020 regarding the defendant, Sam Salmond?
Again, just done all that. Told the police, did a witness statement, just told your friend here, now you're asking me the same thing again.
Yes, my apologies, but could you tell me what exactly you
It's
know
on the
she
26th of
Mr.
September
Amwick,
2020, we stopped a customer.
Mr. Amwick, can I mention this? It's not for you to decide which questions you should answer. If you've been asked these questions, if they're improper, I shall step in. So will you please answer the questions without...
Yes, Your Honour, on the 26th of September 2020, I was working in the shop, the big bookshop down the road. I won't describe it to you again because nobody seemed to be interested. It was brought to my attention that there was a student who was trying to buy some books at an undervalue, having swapped the stickers. She admitted to me that she had done that to try and get it a bit cheaper, which was fine, and I reported it to the police because that's company policy and that's what we always do.
Thank you. Could you tell me once again how much did the books cost?
They were at £117.96.
But
was
you
their face
stated-
value.
Thank you, but you just stated during your questioning with the prosecutor that you heard her and the salesperson disputing over the price, saying it was 35 or 25 pounds.
Yeah, one of the books she'd marked, she'd put a sticker on showing it was £25, when in fact it was £35. But there were several
But-
books, not just one book.
So in total, all the books came up to 170.
They should have been £117.96. She was trying to get away with paying £22.99 less, is what
Okay.
our till said.
Thank you.
And the till's right, till's always right.
Thank you. You also mentioned that John on the tills was in training, but then you mentioned that John had been here.
No,
for a
John
long
wasn't in
time.
training. It was Pierre, Jean-Pierre, who was from France. He's just arrived from France. He was in training.
Okay.
And I think he was in training with John, actually. But John's been there years, knows every trick in the book. I taught him.
So John Pierre was in training and
Jean.
John
Yeah.
was.
He's very particular.
On
You
the
can't call him
tills.
John. Jean-Pierre.
Thank you. What was Sam's reaction after getting confronted about the books?
Embarrassed.
Is there anything else you could say about her reaction?
Well, most people, when they're caught stealing, try and fluff it off and then run away. She didn't.
So you
She
would say,
admitted it. She was embarrassed. Thought she was going to start crying. She's no good for me. I can't live with that.
would you even say remorseful?
Yeah, I'll give her that. Yeah. She looks quite sad now.
Thank
As
you,
well.
Your Honour. No further questions.
Is that it?
No further questions, Your
No.
Honour.
Any re-examination?
I would like to re-examine, with your permission, Your Honour. So can you confirm then the discussion that was had at the till regarding the pricing of the books, i.e. was that the defendant debating that the book should have been at the lower price, or it was your staff member
My staff
debating
member
the
said,
true
this
price?
says £25 in it, but we scan it. We're, we do tens of thousands of pounds worth of books a week. It's all electronic. We scanned it using the barcode. It came up at 35. There was a £25 sticker on it. We do put old-fashioned stickers on the books, and sometimes we write in pencil on the inside, on the inside of the cover. It's just quite nice. If you pick up an old book,
Your Honour,
you must have done this
relevant.
before.
Sorry, Your
Your
Honour.
Honour, you pick up a book that you bought years ago, and it's handwritten.
Your Honour.
Sorry,
Yes, it's a fair
relevance
point.
to the case.
Well, sort of, it's relevant, isn't it? Because
Well, that's
the
really
sticker,
relevant.
the handwritten bit.
Okay.
Anyway, the system said it should have been £10 more. She was getting
Your
away
Honour,
with it
once
for
again,
less.
relevance.
And
Well, carry on.
just
Well,
one
yeah.
more question.
We should just
Just one more
let get
question,
away
Your
with it
Honour.
now, actually, after all this.
You've mentioned in your opinion that the defendant, in your opinion, was remorseful. In her remorsefulness, did she actually attempt to pay the correct
No,
price?
she made it clear
or-
to me she only had £120 on her.
and she didn't attempt to offer to come back maybe at a later date or ask
they all
if
do
you
that.
offered in-store
They all
credit?
do that, yeah. Yeah, I think she may have said she was going to come back. She would have come back, but why spot the stick? I mean, how do you come back from that? I don't know. Anyway,
Ms. Tranby, that's for the jury to decide.
Mm. I've no further questions.
she seemed to be
John.
sorry. She
Um,
seemed to be sorry. I feel for her, really. You
I've
know,
no further
foreigner and all that,
questions.
not knowing what's going on here and now being prosecuted, but there we are. Not my problem.
I've no further questions, Your Honour.
Do you propose to call the defendant?
The prosecution would now like to rest its case.
Very well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Honour. You'd like our bookshop, I have to say. Some very fine books in it for learned men like myself.
Your Honor, allow me to call my first witness, the defendant, Sam Salmon.
As I
To
said,
the
you can
stand.
deal with the vegetables as well as the bookshop if you want.
Sir?
You can deal with the vegetable
Yes,
As well
to
as the-
deal with the
as well as the
vegetable,
bookshop.
as well as the bookshop.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've already been sworn in, so that remains the case. Just please confirm your name.
Sam Salmon,
Okay, and your address, please.
yeah, Listing Hill Science Park, Bradford.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, I would like to examine the defendant with your permission. Thank you. Hello, Sam. How old are you?
I'm 18.
Where are you from?
I live in a small island, just the opposite of south of France.
What do your parents do?
My mother, she is in the local community. She helps feed the homeless and care for those less disadvantaged than us. My father helps out in the farms.
Would you say your parents work enough to provide for the needs of your family?
Yes,
Wonderful. Have you ever known a time where your family was in debt to anyone and refused to pay?
no,
Have you ever been away from your hometown?
this is the very first time I've left my house, as
How-
in my hometown.
Yes, thank you. How long have you been in Bradford?
I've now been here for a few weeks.
A few weeks?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do you know anyone else here?
No, haven't made very many friends.
Have you ever been arrested or have any unspent criminal
No,
convictions?
no.
You've never gotten into trouble with the law?
No,
Can you tell us exactly what happened that day?
so I got here on the 26th of September. I came to Bradford University to study optometry at the School of Life of Sciences. I worked really hard to get a place, and I can promise you that I would never ever do anything to jeopardise my future career. I've always wanted to help others with sight problems, the elderly, anybody who I can support within sight problems. I was shown to my room in the Green. It's a really beautiful hall of residence. It was really nice. I was really pleased. I was excited. I put my stuff down. I started chatting to somebody else in the halls, one of the other students. I realised that I would have to get my own food. The problem was I didn't have very much money in my purse after spending everything for the ferry, the trains, just to get here. I did want to explore a little bit, but I hadn't been to a city before. It was the first time. Never mind one the size of Bradford. Bradford was really big compared to our island. I found a market. It was like an indoor-outdoor market, and they did some fruit and vegetables. It was a bit like the one that we have on an island. Everybody knows everyone there, and the stall owners are really friendly. I'd get sent whenever we needed any fruit or vegetables. We'd pick up what we needed, and then when the cheque came in from the ministry, we'd just make our payment. I never did have money on my person, and you might think me a wee bit stupid, but I thought that it was the same in the market in Bradford. So everybody knows me, and my mother and father, and they're aware that whenever we do purchase things, we will always come back and we'd always pay, and that was okay. It was normal. And that's what I did. I walked into the market. The smells smelled just like the fruit and vegetables that were on our island. It was a little bit strange because it was really big. But I went about, I got some fruit. I noticed that the market stall was quite busy. I did see the stallholder. As soon as I picked up some fruit and vegetable, I shouted over to him, I caught his attention, and I said, I'll be back tomorrow. I waved my hand, and I made my way out.
So you made a conscious effort to get the store owner's attention.
Oh yeah, that's what we would always do. We'd always, tell the stallholder that we've taken what we needed and we'll be back to pay.
Why exactly did you need to get his attention?
Sorry?
Why did you need to get his attention?
I wanted to make him aware that I've got my fruit and vegetables that I needed.
Okay,
So he knew that I was taking my stuff.
okay. And so you're saying the shop there looked and operated exactly the same way exactly the same way as the ones you had back on the island?
Yeah, it reminded me of we had the market stall on the island. It was a little bit smaller on the island. This was a bit bigger, but it was more or less the same. There was lots of fruit and veg. It was a new environment for me because, like I say, it did remind me of home, but it was much bigger than something that I was rather used to.
Yeah. So how much money do you usually get, or do you think, or will you get from the student grant?
Well, I will be getting a student grant, and I will also be getting an extra grant for disadvantaged students.
Yeah.
Because although I live on an island and my parents do support me, as part of my studies, we were able to get some further grants.
Okay.
And I was just waiting for the money to come in so that I can then go back and pay at the market stall for the fruit that I'd taken.
Could you give me an estimate of how much you think the money would be?
It would be, it's paid in segments, so I think over a few quarters. I was hoping to get at least a couple of £1,000, which would help me to survive the university year.
Yeah. So you fully intended to pay everyone back once you had the funds to
Oh
do
yes,
so?
yes, we would always pay. If you buy something, then you should pay for it. I'm used to going to the market stall. They know, like I say, we'll take what we need, and as soon as the check's in, we will go and make our payment.
And you fully made that clear to each of the vendors?
Yes, I remember when I was at the market stall for the fruit and veg. The last thing I did before I left was I caught the market holder's attention. I shouted, I waved over and said, "Thank you, I'll be back tomorrow." And yeah, I smiled, I turned around and I walked out. When I went to the bookshop, I went there to get some book titles I needed from a reading list that had been sent from the university. I had to have read them before I started my studies, so I knew I wouldn't have time to get them at a later date. When I was in the store, I noticed that some of the books were quite expensive. I did do a bit of fiddling with the price stickers. Now I think about it, it's a bit silly of me to do that, and I guess I just, in the moment, it's just something that I did. But I did go up to the till. When I went up to the till, I went to pay for my books, and that's when it was scanned, they told me that it was a little bit more. So I told them, I said, there was another sticker there, and silly me, I made a mistake.
Okay. And you're willing to show your retribution and compensate everyone?
I have the money now for all the people, for the market stall, for the bookshop, and I'd like to make good what happened. It was a mistake, one that I will remember daily and hold on to, and I won't ever do this again. I now know that how it works on the island, it doesn't work like that everywhere else. It's a little bit different, and it's a lesson learned for me.
Thank you so much. Your Honour, no further questions.
Thank you.
If Your Honour, I'd like to cross-examine the defendant. Okay. So you confirm then that you definitely tried to get the market holder's attention?
I did, yes.
And in your opinion, can you confirm, did the market stall hear you clearly?
Yes, I would assume so. He looked at me. When I shouted over, he turned around, he acknowledged me, I could see that he was doing something, but I caught his attention because he looked at me.
But can you confirm that when you caught his attention, and did he look at you, did he shout the words, yeah, that's okay, or did he say, come back tomorrow, because we've heard the store was closed on Sunday?
When we're on the island, that's what we do. I called over the shopkeeper, market stall holder, and I said, you know, thank you, I'll see you tomorrow. And I can't see anything different from what he did to what the normal stall holder at home would do.
Prior to coming to Bradford and starting your studies, did you have any chance to do any research about Bradford customs on similarities between
No.
here and there?
No, I was really excited. I did have the opportunity to look at the student halls of residence, the facilities of the university, and it's a really good university. And I worked really hard to get onto my optometry course, and I really, really want to do well, so that I can help those people that have sight problems and at least try and make it a bit better for them.
And can you confirm then that you intended to return to pay for the fruit
Oh
and
yes,
vegetable?
yes. That's what I told the market stall holder when I left. I said, you know, I'll be back tomorrow. I fully intending on making payment. We always do.
And you mentioned that it's a custom that you would return back at a later day. How do you keep a mental note of what you've taken and owed? Because I'm presuming where you're from, there might have been like a slate or a tab that you would have gone back and asked.
Well, the prices are always written next to whatever you take. So whether it's apples or strawberries. So I always keep a note of what's been taken. I have a list, and against that list is the price. So we're always aware what is taken, what needs to be paid. And when we go to pay the market stall holder, I take along the list in which everything that was taken.
And so when you would have returned then to the market store, how much would you have planned to have paid the market stall owner?
The full amount of the cost, so it was £15 I was told, and that's what I would have paid.
Okay. And now I'd like to just move on and cross-examine regarding what happened and occurred in the bookstore. You have said that, you know, it was a mistake, you know, and you're remorseful now and regret the actions on the day. But can you just tell me though why you decided though to fidget with the price tags?
I think I felt a little bit overwhelmed at the time. I knew I had to get the books, and I had a reading list that was sent to me from the university. I had to have read them before my studies. I couldn't get the books that day with the money. It was just a spur of a moment mistake. I walked in the shop and I realised that I did need these books, and like I say, it was something so silly of me.
And can I ask though why you didn't decide to ask for the books to potentially be put on reserve or hold? Would that might not have been the better option in hindsight?
It would not have made sense for me to ask for the books to be reserved or put on hold. Yes, the books are not fruit.
And
we don't have a bookstore on the island.
And when you attempted to pay for the books, did you not think to them when the true value of the books came up to...
I told them the truth straight away.
You told them the truth
I told them the truth as soon as I was asked. It was silly of me. I was really sorry about what I'd done.
And when announcing it was silly of you, did you not ask at that point and say, admit your error of your ways, your remorse, and say, at this point, can you please put the books to one side and you'd come back and pay, to show that you are a genuine...
I was really sad. I got really upset. I was really emotional. Right now, at that moment, I felt so embarrassed, so silly for what I'd done. I just wanted to bury myself under the duvet and just hide.
I've no further questions, Your Honour.
Do you have any re-examination?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to re-examine the defendant. Sam, on the issue of the groceries, can you confirm what he did after he looked at you?
Yes, he seemed to have a slight nod. I can't say that he didn't acknowledge me. It seemed like he acknowledged what I said, and I turned around and I walked away.
But he made no effort to stop you, to call you?
No,
or to...
no, nobody shouted over back to me, or nobody came towards me. I turned around and I sort of skipped away.
Nobody tried to inform you of the
No,
policy?
no,
Nobody stopped you?
Nobody stopped
made
me.
any suggestions
No.
to you? Thank you. You, from the question of my colleague here, can you confirm whether or not you had internet on the island?
no.
So you are not able to make any research into the place you were coming?
I was able to look at the university and the halls and the facilities through the booklet that the university has sent me.
Okay.
So that's how I saw the facilities from the university. But the internet was something that we'd get if we went to specific places on the island. It wasn't something that was reachable quite easily for me.
And for the books, for you to resume school, would you say that it was an urgent matter
Yes,
and you had a lot of pressure?
I didn't want to fall behind, as it was my first day here in Bradford. I knew that the reading list was sent for a reason, and it was because we'd have to read the material before our studies commenced. So I really wanted to do well. Like I said, I worked really hard to get onto this course, to do optometry. It's a lifelong dream of mine that I've always wanted to do.
Can you tell me how you felt with the resumption date starting and you having no books to resume or food?
I was really distraught. I was very upset. I was sad. I felt as though I didn't have anybody who could help me. I didn't know what to do. I felt really in a position where I was stuck.
Okay. And you said, could you tell me what happened, once again, as soon as the prices were discovered?
I told him, I admitted it. I says to him that I've done something silly, and I'm sorry.
You say here that your student grant is coming in and you will have money for the books.
Yes,
Did you...
yeah, I would. I'm going to go back and I'm going to get the books, once again apologise and pay in full.
Did you make the store owner aware of that at the tills?
When it happened, I felt really embarrassed, ashamed. I was really panicky. I just wanted to hide. Like, I wanted to get out of the situation, as in like just run away from there, because I felt really upset. I had every intention to pay. It was just a moment where I made a mistake and I just panicked, I guess.
Okay, thank you so much. Your Honour, no further questions.
Thank you. Do you have any other witnesses?
Yes, I'd like to call to the stand my second witness, Miss Susie Sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please remain standing. Okay, could you please confirm your name
Susie Sweet,
and your address?
number 17, Housemore, The Island.
Thank you. And just to swear you in, please could you repeat these words after me? I do solemnly,
I do solemnly,
sincerely and
truly
declare and affirm
declare and affirm
that the evidence I shall give
that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Hello, sweetie.
Hello.
How old are you?
I'm 63.
How long have you lived on the island?
All my life, really. I've lived on the island for majority of my life. I'd say almost all my life.
How long have you known the salmon farm family?
Or throughout, because I've been on the island a long time. I mean, I saw Sam when she was born. I've watched Sam grow up. So I've known them pretty much the whole time that they've been on the island.
So you would say you're very close to the family?
Very close to the family, know them really well, very good family, never any trouble or anything, you know, always pay their dues. Yes, yeah, I know them very well.
How often do things change on the island?
Never. In all the years, as I say, I'm 63, I might not look it, but I am, and nothing's ever really changed since the time I got to the island. Things just stay the same, you know, nice and calm. We have the same routine, and everybody knows everybody there, and there's never any trouble.
Does the island have much contact with the outside world?
No, I mean, I hear of this thing, I think they call it internet or something, but no, we don't have much connection with anything that goes on outside the island. It's a very self-contained island. We've got everything that we need there. We're just happy that Sam was able to go further her education elsewhere. Maybe that's the only thing missing in the island, but no, we have very little contact with people outside the island.
You said you've known Sam since she was a baby. Has she ever been in trouble before?
Never been in trouble. I mean, Sam is one of the good ones where she'll bury her head in books, and she was very focused on getting somewhere. Never seen her with any gadgets. A few of the youngsters her age are now starting to get some of the gadgets, and you know, I think they call it Facebook now or something. But no, Sam never been in trouble. Just concentrating on her books. Very keen to do well in school. In fact, she came to say bye to me just before she left the island to go off to university. Very proud of Sam.
Have you ever known Sam or her family to not pay a debt, refuse to pay a debt that was owed?
No, certainly not. I mean, I run a small shop, and sometimes Sam will be sent to come and collect items, or her parents will come and collect items, and I just make a note, and whenever they get the money, then they'll pay for the items. Never once have they disputed any of the amounts, and never once have they failed to pay as soon as they got the money. So no, so Sam and her family, most reliable family on the island, along with pretty much everybody else on the island.
Would you say it's normal for people to come into your shop and taste a thing or two to see the quality of the product?
They'll come in, they'll taste a thing or two, they'll pick a few things, and you know, I'll make a note, and they'll pay me whenever they pay me. So yes, very normal to taste a thing or two in my shop, and then take whatever you need, and if you haven't got the money, pay me later.
Does it adversely affect your business in any way?
Oh no, that's how I've always traded. That's how we trade on the island, and it's never a problem, because you know, people shouldn't really be expected to have money all the time, so they'll pay when they pay, and that's absolutely fine and never affected business.
Can you tell me what you know about this incident in particular?
Well, I was surprised when we heard on the island that Sam had gotten into some form of bother, because, I mean, it's natural. I mean, who expects to be paid straight away? You know, they'll pay when they pay, and Sam would definitely pay. So my understanding is there must have been some form of mix-up, and Sam picked a few items as she would have done on the island, and intended to pay them back. I think there was some issue with books, but again, Sam, very honest, would have paid for those books.
Your Honour, I'd like to reject that statement. There's no mention of the books in the witness statement. The witness statement refers to the mix-up being around the fruit and veg and nothing to eat and having to eat.
Isn't it okay to assume
Yes, she's
that...
entitled
it's
to
okay
ask
to
whatever
assume.
questions
Okay,
she thinks
right.
appropriate.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Thank you.
So you were saying...
Yes, so I was saying that there must have been a mix-up with the whole, you know, fruit and veg. That's how we sell it on the island. And with the books, I know Sam would most definitely have intended on coming back to pay the right amount. Sam is no thief at all.
Yeah. Would you say that this is a mistake anyone from the island could have made coming into a city like Bradford?
Easily, anybody from the island, because that's how we're used to running things on the island, and because we've got no connection with the outside world. Very honest people, Sam extremely honest, and that's how I would have behaved. I'm finding it surprising that one is expected to have the money up front and not able to just pay whenever they get money in.
Thank you so much. No further questions, Your Honour.
Thank you.
Okay. You mentioned that, you know, in the store that you have, you know, that, you know, it's acceptable for customers to take the produce away and come back at a later date and pay.
Yes.
Can you tell us what the procedure is to how you ensure that you know what's being taken and how much they pay?
So sometimes I'll see them taking the items, and then I'll just make a little note once they've taken, and they'll shout and tell me when they're going to come back and pay, and I'll make a note in my little booklet what the items are and how much they are.
So would you say then you used your little book like a tab in a way?
Yes, I did, just because there are quite a few families on the island, so it was easy for me to be able to keep track of who owed me what. So yes, I did use the book just to keep track.
And you mentioned that you become aware that, there'd been the incident with the defendant in Bradford and mix-up. Can you elaborate on how you come to know about the mix-up and what you were told regarding that mix-up?
Yes, so I came to find out just because the island is small, and Sam must have spoken to her parents, and then it sort of whittled down to me. But my understanding was that Sam just, collected the items as she normally would in the market if she was on the island, and then was going to pay for them later, as well as the books. So that's pretty much what I had. And to me, it's all a mix-up. I found it very surprising that one would be expected to pay straight away for items.
And what were you told about the mix-up with the books?
Some of the details are not entirely clear to me, but my understanding is just that simply, Sam didn't have all the money with her there and then, but was very much intending on coming back to pay the full price at a later date once her grant cleared. But I don't have all the full details.
You don't have the full details. Okay, to assume then that a mix-up occurred in the bookshop. You can agree that what happened in the fruit and veg store could potentially been a mix-up, but in relation to what happened in the books store, you don't have the full facts, so therefore...
Yes, but I know Sam well, and I would know that she would definitely be intending on paying whatever she owes.
And can you just confirm to the courts, have you been on out of your way from yourself on holiday? And
the island is far too beautiful to go anywhere else. So no, I've been on the island for a very long time, and weather's not great, but it's such a beautiful part. So no need to go on holiday anywhere. So no.
Okay. So you could confirm then. You may not be aware then of what we're accustomed to store holders in shops in Bradford then.
This is the first I'm learning that there's a different way of things running out, which are different from the island. So yes, I've got no sort of knowledge of how things run outside the island, which I thought everywhere runs the same way as the island, but
okay.
Now perhaps.
So the incidents that occurred involving the defendant, you could say then that you would have handled them in a very different manner.
On the island.
On the island.
On the island, we would not be here. On the island, it would not be a problem at all.
Okay, I've no further questions, Your Honour.
Any re-examination?
Yes, Your Honour. So, to the best of your knowledge, is the book system operated by just you, or is it something everyone on the island does?
I think people have different ways of keeping, notes of who owes what. Just because we pick, you don't always pay cash in any of the stores or any items that you get. So I certainly keep a book, but that's just more because it helps me, and maybe others have a slightly better memory than I do. Okay,
so you're saying that some book owners don't even keep a book; they just could retain the information.
I think that would be correct, because I'm not too familiar with exactly how people keep track of their own monies that are owed to them.
Okay. So you said that this is your first time out of the island.
Yes.
Okay. So you also mentioned that the mistakes Sam made were mistakes that you would have made in the city, Bradford.
Yes, yeah, because that's how things have run all my life. That's how I've known things to run. So I certainly would have just picked up a few items, and if I didn't have the money on me, called back later to pay.
Have you ever had any scenarios of theft in your stores?
No, none at all whatsoever. Everybody is very honest. the Salmon family in particular among everybody else who lives on the island. So never been an issue with theft.
Does the Salmon family and Sam specifically come to your shop a lot?
A lot. As I say, I've watched Sam from when Sam was, born and grown up, and they come to my shop very regularly. Sometimes they'll have the money on them. Other times Sam will be sent, or one of the members of the family will come and pick up some items, and they'll come as soon as they get the money. They'll come and pay.
Okay.
Honest as day, they are.
And just to clarify, your business that you operate on with this system is doing well?
Yes, no issue at all.
Okay, thank you, Your Honour. No further questions.
Any further witnesses?
No, Your Honour, that is the
that
case on behalf.
prosecution, defence case?
Yes, that is the
Can we
case
hear
on behalf.
closing speeches then, please?
Your Honour, you've been members of the jury, you have been presented with a lot of facts to consider at today's hearing, and it's the prosecution's job to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the defendant's intention was to appropriate and permanently deprive both Mr. Mark Spencer and the owners of Stoneywater Bookshop of their property. And yes, they are two separate indictments. So in relation to the books, the defendant at the moment of picking the book. The defendant picked the books up, and at that moment were dishonest in her actions because she'd fidgeted with the books, and prior going to the till were dishonest in her actions. The defendant did accept, though, that she had admitted her remorse at the tills, but nevertheless it is still an act of theft because the offence occurred before going to the tills, and it's probably only that the till, when confronted, that's probably why she was remorseful in her actions, and her actions may have been different if she hadn't been challenged. And yeah, she's remorseful that a mix-up occurred with a fruit and veg stall, and that maybe a mistake did occur because, it's acceptable from where she lives originally that buy now and pay later. But as the defendant's witness, Susie Sweet, admitted, that it is a custom that they do make a mental note or have a book, so that whatever's took would have been known to have paid back. Whereas in this instance, the witness, Mr. Mark Spencer, acknowledged the court that, he doesn't have a tab and credit system. He didn't give consent for a buy now, pay later option, and yet it might have been an innocent mistake, but we can't allow an innocent mistake to be acceptable here in the courts today, because everybody may then come to you, judge, and you, the jury, and say, oh, it was a innocent mistake, I was going to come back and pay later. And if everybody thought it were acceptable to fidget before getting to the till and swapping a price tag were acceptable, and then say at the till, oh, it were a mistake, then insurance companies probably then wouldn't pay out when matters of theft have arisen. And yeah, the defendant maybe does have a life ahead against her, and she is young and naive in her actions, and in her excitement probably did get carried away. But still, in her excitement, we can't ignore that at the time of the incident in the bookshop, though, the intention clearly was to permanently deprive the bookstore open, or otherwise she wouldn't have fidgeted with the labels. So it's for the jury today to decide, not on assumption or on hearsay, or that, she may or may not have done. The jury's got to be 100% certain that the defendant would have returned.
Would you care to address the jury?
And so that it's up to the jury to decide, do they believe that the defendant would have returned, as she said, to have paid for the fruit and veg and the books? If the jury feels that she would have done that and would have returned and made an honest admission and paid what she dutifully owed to both the market store holder and the bookstore, then I'd ask the jury to find the defendant not guilty. But if the jury is 100% certain that they don't feel that she would have returned and paid the correct value for both the fruit and veg and the books, then to find the defendant guilty and that her intention was to appropriate and deprive the owners of the... Thank you.
You're not addressing me, you're addressing the jury.
Yes, sir. Your Honor and the jury, on behalf of my client, the defendant, Sam Salmond, I, the defense, would like to make the following respectful submissions. It has been a pleasure appearing before you on the subject of this case, and thank you for listening to both sides. In the case before you, the prosecution have presented insufficient evidence to convict my client of theft, as the fundamental elements of theft are in fact absent in this case. Theft is defined by Section 1 of the 1968 Act as dishonestly appropriating property belonging to another with the intention of permanently depriving the other of it. 5 main elements are used to establish theft as a criminal offense, which are appropriation, property belonging to another, dishonesty, and the intention to permanently deprive. Without all these elements, it cannot be considered a theft. As it is the responsibility of the prosecutor to prove beyond reasonable doubt that these elements were present in the case. In 1982, the Court of Appeal in R v. Gosh took it upon itself to explain how a jury should go about determining whether a person has acted dishonestly.
Can I stop you, because you're trespassing on my role. I will deal with the law if you deal with the facts and the evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. The jury must ascertain some certain things in regards to the case, such as whether or not Sam Salmond was in fact appropriating property and intending to permanently deprive. The cases and for this case, the witnesses and the witness statements have proved that Sam was not in fact intending to permanently deprive any of these vendors of their goods or of their property. Certain laws are universalist, even on the island where my client is from. My client knows not to kill, assault, or even plagiarize. None of these things she would knowingly and willingly do, especially at the cost of her future that she has talked so highly about. Even though the vendors would say it was dishonest in the sense of not completely communicating, my client did not see it as such, and she was 100% doing what she thought was the norm, and she was simply excited. My client is an upstanding citizen with no previous records of theft or misdemeanor, simply confused and excited. None of our actions were motivated by malicious intent or the intent to once again deprive these vendors of what was owed to them. She fully intended to pay each of these vendors back for the goods that she has taken. She was simply doing what she considered to be the norm on the island as well as the city, as she had not been here a very long time. She is ready to apologize for the inconvenience to these vendors and compensate each one of them. On the subject of theft, we would like you to render the only verdict that is fair, which is not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the jury, before you retire to consider your verdict, I should try and describe my role in these proceedings as judge in the criminal trial, and also your role. My role is to deal with and to guide you as to the law. And there I have the last word, whether you think that's right or whether you think that's wrong. You might even feel critical of the law, but that is not your role. Your role is to deal with the facts of the case, and that is where you have the last word. Whatever I say in my summing up, you can discount, agree with, whatever, but you have the final say when you deal with the facts. So now think about the witnesses. What sort of impression did they make on you? Think about Miss Summons. Was she somebody who appeared to you to be credible? Did you feel that when she said she had every intention to pay the money back, that you can accept that? Can you accept what Miss Sweet said, and indeed what Miss Salmon said about where she came from, an island which sounds, you might think, like a breath of fresh air given the competitive nature of commerce in Bradford and indeed in this country. And it may seem a little foreign to you, but that you may think it can be accepted. It's a custom where there was a more casual approach to the business of buying and selling. And if that be right, then you may take the view that Miss Salmon's testimony as to that is credible. You may feel, however, that if that was right and she intended to pay for those goods, she might have made it clearer, certainly to Mr. Spencer and to Mr. Anweep. That doesn't necessarily negative what she says about that, but you're entitled to take that into view. So far as the law is concerned, it was well articulated by Ms. Shaborn. Theft is the appropriation of property belonging to another with the intention of dishonestly of depriving the owner of it. There has been a lot of case law about that, and I don't need to trouble you with that today. But you have to believe that she, in order for her to be behaving dishonestly, she intended to deprive the owner permanently of it. I'm bound to say that the fact that she was going to pay back, even if you accept that, you may accept that or not as you please. It doesn't necessarily mean for the defendant she gets home. But if there is a doubt, which brings me on to my next part of my next statement, if there is a doubt, you should acquit. And I'll deal with that briefly if I may. It's been a long day. The burden in any criminal case to prove, to get a conviction against any defendant, man, woman or child, it's a high bar, if I can put it like that. The Crown's duty is to make you sure, beyond reasonable doubt, that the defendant has committed this offence. Suspicion is not enough. You cannot adjudicate on this on the basis that, let's say, there's no smoke without fire. That is not enough, members of the jury. So that if there is a doubt in your mind, you should acquit. I'll deal briefly with the summary of the evidence that you've heard. You know that Salmon was brought up on a remote Scottish island. I've dealt with the relevance of that evidence already. She didn't watch television. She didn't go to school. And her busy life on a farm meant that she didn't go on holiday. So you might think an isolated life. So when she came to Bradford for her first year on the optometry course, which is a lifelong ambition of hers, it was being the word excitement has been used, and you may think that is creditable. It may be it's credible that she was excited. You know that her first stop was in the market. She said she needed fruit and vegetables. There was the market in Bradford, bigger than anything she'd ever seen before. She stopped at a store where there was a display of apples. She picked one up, you hear, and bit into it. After one bite, she threw the apple into a bin and carried on shopping. She picked up some potatoes, some herbs, some strawberries and apricots, put them in her shopping bag, and then left. On her way out, she turned and waved at the stallholder. "I'll pop in tomorrow with some money for you." You may also take into account, it appears that Miss Salmon didn't deny any of the allegations made. She didn't compound her difficulties by being argumentative or difficult or trying to make her escape. She was sorry, and she said she was sorry, and you may think that is to her credit. And then as to the bookshop, you've heard she had little money on her. She found the books that she needed, and they were too expensive. The labels weren't sticking, and she swapped the labels around. She says about that, she explained to the manager what had happened, and she admitted her part in that, and indeed the theft of the vegetables. I think that draws up my address to you, and so may the jury retire, please. And finally, you may have heard about majority verdicts. That's not something for you to consider today. If it does crop up, then I will address you. But for the moment, you must find unanimously either for or against the defendant. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honour. Thank you, everybody who tuned in to watch. That obviously concludes our 3-day mock trial, which was the first of what we expect to be an annual event held by Proctor and Hobbs solicitors in collaboration with the School of Law, Bradford University, here at the very grounds of Bradford University, Lady Hale Court room. And now it's over to you, the public, to decide who you think should be the candidate that will walk away with a car, which is the prize that will be given to the best candidate. The public vote will count for 20% of the points awarded. 40%, my apologies, 40%. So that's a very high percentage of the marks that will be awarded to the candidate, with 60% being decided by members of staff from both the University of Bradford as well as Proctor and Hobbs solicitors. The voting lines have now opened, and they will remain open for 1 week, closing on Friday the 15th. The award ceremony will be on the 20th of September, when the winner will be awarded a smart car. We hope to see you through the votes and at the award ceremony. Thank you.